love it.
That's the first in a while.
All right. Well, apparently Tony changed up my highly curated video log today.
Schedule.
As Denny informed me this morning that Tony promised that we would do sharpening bevelers.
Yes.
Stropping bevelers, sharpening bevelers.
Yeah.
We're going to do things to bevelers to make them cut better.
Cut better. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. Yeah.
All right, Denny.
Okay.
You got some stuff here.
I got some stuff here. Some stuff that I use and have used. Some of it works pretty well. Some of it does not work as well.
Okay.
But all of it works to a point. This little gadget here is just a piece of wood with 4 saw kerfs in it, and I put some pieces of leather in it, some pieces of pretty firm leather. And I've got two thicker pieces and 2 thin pieces. I've got emery cake on these 2 with 1 thick and 1 thin. I've got jeweler's rouge on 1 thick and 1 thin.
Okay.
Right? So, depending upon the size of beveler that you want to use, if you're using a large beveler, I would go to the thicker piece of leather and drag it across this emery cake. And the emery cake is more aggressive than the jeweler's rouge by far, but still, if your beveler is fairly dull, it's not going to do much to it. But I'm going to make a few strokes on this. And you always want to drag it towards yourself. You don't ever want to push, because then you'll be beveling this thing off.
Correct. Yeah, you got to polish it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be cutting with it.
Right. But I'm going to go on the emery cake for a while. Now I've switched to the jeweler's rouge. Let's see how it cuts. It was fairly sharp to begin with. But it cuts pretty doggone well, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say?
I would say.
Okay. And if I wanted to... this is a very small beveler. This is size 1. So I'm going to go to this this smaller piece of leather.
And you could do, you could make these in all sorts of widths.
Yeah.
But I guess they need to kind of hold up, don't they? As you're pushing down on them.
You want the firmest piece of leather that you can find.
Mm-hmm.
The firmest piece. But you can make them thin or thick. But really, one size pretty much does all. Because the beveler itself is going to shape it as you're dragging it across there. But this is, like I said, this is a size 1, which is a very small beveler.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how it does. Cuts pretty well. Cuts pretty well. Okay, I've shown you that. That's about all I can say about that little tool. But it works well. It works well if your beveler is dull, actually dull, needs a new edge on it, that's not going to do much good for you.
This is just going to polish it up.
Yeah. But if you've got a very dull beveler...
And I see you put a nice hole in this so you can hang it on the wall.
Yes, I can
on a nail.
That is hanging on my wall.
Or on your workbench on a leg.
Yeah.
All right.
But if it's very dull, you can get a jeweler's file, a very small jeweler's file. Like this. You see that? It's tiny. Tiny, tiny.
Itty bitty. So this is going to be more aggressive.
Yes, this will actually sharpen your beveler, but it will also put a raw or a wire edge on it.
Mm-hmm. That's a complicated machine.
Yes, but it is a machine. Yes. This is a jeweler's tool, actually. And I'm not going to do this to my beveler because I've got them sharp. But if you will take this and just go away from yourself. You never want to... Some people go like this and actually saw
back and forth.
Back and forth. To me, that's counterproductive.
Correct.
Because every time you pull it back towards the edge, you're dulling it again.
Correct.
In the same way, when you strop something, if you strop both ways, you're dulling the edge in one direction.
Yeah.
So you
never want to push into the blade. You always want to pull away from the blade.
That's right.
As you're sharpening or polishing.
So I would either do it like this or turn it around
and pull it
this way.
Mm-hmm.
But that will also create a wire edge on the inside.
And how do you get rid of that?
Got a little tool for that.
Okay.
And you've got to help me with this.
Okay.
On my bench, I've got them nailed to the bench itself.
Gotcha.
But I've got some pieces of cord here.
Right.
some thick, some thin. But since the
So just, oh, I guess those are your,
yeah,
those are tiny little strops.
yeah. But you can use whichever size fits your beveler. But say if we were doing this number 2 Western beveler, I would go to this one right here. And there again, I would drag away from the edge.
And you got your emery cake on that.
Got emery cake. And over here I've got jeweler's rouge on this one. These are just cotton cord, works really well. I just saddle soaked them a little bit.
Okay. Make them a little sticky.
Yeah, it grabs the compound, whatever you're using on it. But that'll make it cut.
Look at that.
Cuts. All
I
right.
tell you what, there's nothing worse than a beveler that doesn't bevel.
That's right. That's right. And if you've got a big beveler, you know, you can go to a bigger size cord.
It looks like some hemp.
Yeah, this is a piece of hemp. I mean, whatever you can find that fits your need.
I got plenty of hemp from my macrame days.
Yeah,
Still hanging out.
that works. Nylon works. You know, any kind of a manufactured cord will work, but the cotton or something that absorbs a little bit will work better.
Yeah, that saddle soap is a good idea.
Yeah.
That way, because sometimes I feel like you go to apply the rouge just on something that's naked, and
Yeah.
you're not doing
Yeah,
anything.
it just dust on it. It just dust on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody has saddle soap at home, don't they?
Yeah, if you don't, you should have.
That's right. If you've
Hey.
learned nothing over the past 4 years, it's that you need saddle soap.
Yes, Pace saddle soap. and another thing about saddle soap, the instructions on the can usually say dilute with water or mix a little water with it and suds it up. I never do that. Just use it full strength.
Unless you really need some sudsy soap.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I watched Nick. He was cleaning his shoes. Chevy guy was cleaning his shoes on Instagram. He put up a video, and he did a nice saddle soap lather. He sprayed the top of it with some water and roughed it up with his brush.
Well, you know, regular glycerin saddle soap, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
And when you use it as a cleaner, you know, you should make it suds up.
All right, now you got some
Okay.
strips.
Now, let's go to a French edger.
Okay.
Like this, you know, which has a nice flat edge. There's 2 ways to sharpen it. Number 1 would be on a strop, and there again I have emery cake on one side here, which is fairly aggressive, and I'm just dragging it away from the edge. And I'm turning it over to the jeweler's rouge. One other thing, don't let me forget, I want to go back to the edge bevelers here in a minute on
Okay.
this strop. But that's all it takes to
Polish up.
smooth one out if it's but it cuts pretty well. Cuts pretty well. Let's go back to our edge bevelers. You can also use the edge of your strop, the corners,
Okay.
just drag it like this on the corner. I'm on the
Well, and couldn't you, because this is a leather strop, you have Kydex in the middle, do you? Or is it all leather?
there's a piece of Kydex in the middle just to stiffen it a little
Right.
bit.
And so what you can do is every one of your edges could be a different size beveler, and you could bevel the edge first, put your rouge on it, and then pull it off, and then somehow mark all the edges, I suppose, if you wanted real precise
Yeah.
polishing.
But you know, like I said, one size kind of does fit all.
Yeah.
Because the leather is soft enough where it will give to the shape of whatever tool you're dragging across it. It cuts. What else can I say?
Gonna put you on Forged in Fire with your bevelers. This cuts and this cuts.
Okay, now, I've stropped this where it works, but you can also take it and on the bench I have these fastened down. But this is about the same width as my French edger, and I'll just pull it like this.
And you've got rouge.
Of course, I've got
Emery.
emery and the rouge. But really, if you got your tools sharp and don't do anything to mess the edge up, about all you should have to do is the rouge every time. if someone that you don't know grabs your tool and dulls it up really bad, you'll have to do different. You'll have to shoot them first.
You'll have to gouge out their eye
And
with
gouge-
whatever tool
Yes,
they
you-
messed up.
Yeah, say this, you've turned this into an eye gouge.
You can gouge an eye with just
Yeah.
about anything, I suppose. I hear they're pretty squishy. I haven't tried it, but
But then I've got another size. This is about a 1/2 inch French edger, and this is a 1/4 inch. And I got the same thing. I just cut a piece of leather, piece of fairly light leather, about the same width. Just drag it across. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have a buffing wheel, you can just do the same thing on a buffing wheel.
yep.
You can buff this flat side, but this side here you can get on the very corner of the buffing wheel and just roll it around on each corner.
polish it,
Yeah,
yep.
and polish it. What else can I say? If you're
Well, yeah, you haven't used that thing yet.
yeah, if you're if you're really dull with your French edger, you can sit there and use the stone. I put water or oil on the stone depending on which one you have, but just drag it across it, and you don't want to bevel the edge on this. You want a nice.
I got some water.
What would I call that? Okay. I'm just gonna drag this across. However many times you need to. Now, I don't know if you can see that edge or not, but I've made it pretty rough right there.
Okay.
Now let's go to our emery cake and see if I can buff that back up. Pretty much did. Yeah, it's about polished back off. Every time you strop a tool, it gets a little better, you know. If you have a very small edge beveler that is dull on the inside, if you get too much of a wire edge, you can take one of these little, they call it a slipstone, I believe.
Yep.
And this is very, very sharp on one edge, and it's got a blunt edge on the other side. But most of your smaller edgers, you can take that wire edge off with that. But then run it through your string again.
This is rather messy.
Yes, it is. Well, because I just put brand new stuff on all of them. Then I'll turn it around to the other edge and polish it off just a little bit.
So is this less aggressive than your jeweler's tool over here?
Oh yes, no.
Your file?
The stone. This is probably the most aggressive tool
Okay.
I've got out here.
So we've got a stone, this, and this
Slipstone.
slipstone.
Yeah.
So probably most aggressive, middle, and then least aggressive of
Least
these.
aggressive of those.
Okay.
These are actually sharpening implements.
Right.
These three. You know, the rest of them are just more or less buffers to get your wire edge off and to polish the edge smooth. But anyway, this is the one I put on the stone, isn't it? Let's see what that did to it. Made it pretty sharp.
I tell you what, I don't think I've ever been able to do that with one of my French edgers. It just won't ever.
Well, you need
Cut
to
it.
bring it in,
I
and
need to
we need to
polish
work
it.
on it.
I know. I need to be better. I feel like I preach this all the time, but I'm not very great at putting it into practice, and I'm trying to get better. I did just resharpen all my knives with my whetstone
With your
series that I got, but I need to be more consistent about using the rouge and polishing. And I think that that's probably something that most leather crafters who are maybe kind of in their intermediate beginner stage beginner, intermediate stage is something that they probably struggle with.
I think the deal is, and it is with me too, still, I get antsy. I want to get done with something.
Right.
And
well, you're in the middle of something. You're like, I need this tool.
And a tool is dull, and you're saying, okay, I'm just going to grit my teeth and get through this.
Yeah.
But
that's the wrong thing to do.
Well, yeah. In hindsight, if you would have stopped your tool up a little bit, you could have just done it.
Yep.
Rather than going for 30 minutes, trying to grit through something.
Yeah.
And then having a ragged deal to boot.
I think that's like somebody that's a part-time maker, when they just have an hour or two in the shop here and there. They don't, you're not spending, like, you're not coming into the workshop and being like, all right, let's get prepared for the day, and this is what I'm going to be doing. Let's strop these tools. Let's put a nice polish on this. And then you go into your work day with like your refined machine of a shop. Us little part-time crafters are just like, I only have an hour and a half, and I'm gonna get all, and we just don't do the prep work.
Yeah.
That to make your work easier, better, more efficient.
And that's another little tip that I would like to impart. and I don't always do it, but I generally do. When you're using a tool and you get done with it, strop it then. Put it away. Next time you pick it up, it'll be
ready to go.
Fresh and smooth and ready to go.
That is a good.
Where
do you keep your polishing stuff on your bench?
I've got my strop. I've just got a screw.
So you're sitting here, and it's right here.
Yeah.
It's hanging on the side of the bench, within arm's reach.
Yeah, and the buffing wheel, of course, is a few feet away. Mm-hmm. It would be better if the buffing wheel was in a different room.
Correct.
Because that's pretty dirty deal. And that's another thing. On your workbench, if you strop right on your work area, you're going to get that stuff on your thing. So strop somewhere else. Strop at the end of your bench rather than right where you're cutting and everything. And another thing, I've got a two-sided strop here. Mm-hmm. A lot of people won't use two sides. They'll just use one side and have two strops.
Right.
One with the...
That way you're not laying that surface down on something.
Yeah.
On your workbench.
The white Jeweler's Rouge isn't so bad. The gray, gets on your product. But another thing, too, if it does get on there, just when you're all done, just use some oxalic acid and clean your leather.
You're going to have a lot of cleaning on that saddle.
Yeah, we're doing our saddle class, and those guys come over and use a die grinder to grind nails off on the bottom of their tree right by my thing. And the saddle I'm working on has blue stuff all over it,
Yeah.
But the last step before I oil the saddle and put a finish on it, I'll go over it with oxalic acid and clean that back up.
That's right.
But don't get it dirty just because you can.
There is a way to fix it, but
Yeah.
don't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Let's see. That was a whole 18 minutes of information.
It wasn't very long.
You guys have any... Dean says he uses two strops.
But Danny wanted to know if you could explain the different colors of rouge that you're using.
I don't really know all the different colors. I know red and white and green are very close to each other. I think green is more aggressive than the white. White is more aggressive than the red.
Right.
And then you go to your the gray or the black is generally an emery cake, which is more aggressive than either of them. After that, I don't know. They have brown and purple and all sorts of different colors. But
Yeah, Denny's got the emery cake, which is a more aggressive polisher.
yes.
And then Jeweler's Rouge,
Yeah.
which is a
polisher.
A polisher.
A finish.
Yeah.
That's what a jeweler would use to polish up your ring with.
right.
White or red.
Take it, run it through.
Yeah.
I wonder what's on those little silver cloths that you can buy.
It's a solvent. They've got some stuff. It's called Never Dull,
Yep.
and that's made for polishing the chrome on your car. But it's the greatest silver polish there ever was. Just rub it on there, and then take a clean piece of toilet paper or Kleenex or whatever, and you've
Wipe
got
it
a
off.
brand new article.
She's never been the same.
Yeah.
Omar, I did get your picture. I sure did. Thank you so much for sending it. Omar got our package. So he's got your trading cards and your little belt buckle that you did. And we
Good.
sent him a shirt. So he sent me a selfie in his SLC shirt.
Good deal. Glad
Yeah.
to have you with us.
What?
Post that on Instagram.
Omar, can we share your picture with our customer base?
I would like to see it.
I'll show you. Can we post about you? Our awesome follower from Algeria.
That is just cool.
I know.
You know, that's more than around the block. I've got this guy that comes to the saddle class from Utah every week, but he's not from Algeria.
It's not Algeria.
That's still commitment, though. All the way from Utah?
Yeah, Utah is not super close. All right, does anybody have any more questions? He loves your work. I'm going to take that as a sure. Anybody have any questions about stropping, polishing? We did the bevelers. We've already done, knives over the course of this year.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of sharpening / polishing videos. I know that we had...
Yeah, Kevin and I did swivel knives.
You talked about that,
uh,
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah.
I forget what day it is.
Stropping is not sharpening. That is correct.
Yeah,
It's a
it
part
does to a point, but
Is it a
would
part
take
of it? I feel like stropping is a part of the sharpening process.
You know, a guy was telling me at one time. He said you can polish something with your skin.
Mm-hmm.
You have enough aggregate on your body to.
You're dirty
But
enough.
it's going to take a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know, and the same with the jeweler's rouge. You can sharpen something with it if you've got the time, but your grandkids will have to finish up for you.
Well, so Corey Dunlap, which is a knife maker out of Arizona, and his prior business was sharpening kitchen knives. And so he did a sharpening course at the Hammer Inn a couple years ago. And he was like, you can strop something on your jeans.
Yeah.
He's like, you're the canvas or the denim of your jeans is like, it will polish something. Like, it'll kind of do that final, and he's like, sometimes I'll be, and like, that'll just be the final thing. I'll just wipe it on my pants a few times just to kind of get that final buff. But it's just part of the process. Sometimes if your tool if you've got lines that are super visible, those need to come out.
Yeah.
Probably with some sort of more aggressive sharpening, and then you'll get a burr on it, but you have to take that off. But then from that point, then you start using, depending on how aggressive the lines are
Right.
in the metal, will kind of depend on how much stropping you have to do after the sharpening.
I would bet if you took the very sharpest edge there ever was that anyone could ever put on any kind of a knife or a cutting instrument and put it under a microscope, you could still see a saw edge on it.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
But you want to get as much of that off as you can.
Did you put something on the strings and straps? I am late. Yes, we did. Heart of the West. We had Emery Cake and Jeweler's Rouge. But
and you can get, there's like valve grinding compounds and stuff that you can use. There's all kinds of different stuff. There was a place called Sandpaper of Texas.
Sandpaper of Texas.
Yeah, and they would send me this tube that looked like a tube of sausage. It was about a pound tube of this gray stuff, but it was very, very aggressive. It was like the stuff we have on the heavy wheel out there.
Yep.
But you put it on a soft wheel, but it was had a lot of liquid in it when you put it on, so you had to let it dry.
Okay.
But then you go up to that wheel. I mean, you talk about drawing fire. I mean, you could make brand new tools with it, shape tools and everything.
Which Denny does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week. So I think we're good here.
I think we are.
Okay.
We've done what we.
So next week we will be back on schedule, and we will be starting to work on the fender lamp. Denny has finally experimented enough to a point
Yes.
that we can do some things. So I think we'll start next week with a stirrup.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm going to have a stirrup at the bottom of this fender lamp.
that's right.
So,
We're gonna cover a stirrup, which Denny didn't do in his saddle videos.
yeah, I don't think we showed that, did we?
No, I think you had already had those done. So we're gonna do a stirrup from start to finish, and then we're using some leftover parts from Denny's saddle for this stirrup lamp. So we've got some parts already tooled. He's been working on a third one. I'll get with the boys, and hopefully, I don't know if we'll have tooling patterns next week, but it might be the week after because they'll be pretty involved for that. But it's going to be a pretty cool little
Yeah, it's
table
going to
lamp.
be a total experimental deal all the way through.
Gonna be experimenting all the way.
All
I think it's
the
gonna
way.
be. I think you got it worked out pretty well. It took me a minute this morning to get the idea in my head, but I like it. It's kind of casual, you know.
It's kind of casual, and a lot of stuff
fun.
will have to be done off camera because in 1 hour I don't have enough time to do all the experimenting I need to do.
No, so you guys will kind of see intermittent parts of this.
Yeah, but we'll try to explain everything that I didn't do on camera. It'll be kind of like the saddle deal.
What's a fender lamp? It's gonna be like a saddle fender, but we're gonna make a lamp.
And I Googled it. I saw no one has a fender lamp.
This is a completely new idea
Yes.
in the whole world.
No one
We
has-
finally found one.
If someone finishes one before I get finished, I'm going to be mad.
Denny finally found something new. We have invented the wheel, finally.
Yes.
It's very exciting. Is it a stirrup lamp or a fender?
It's got a stirrup at the bottom of a fender.
That's right.
It just picture a saddle, the stirrup and the saddle fender above the stirrup. That's what we're making a lamp out of.
That's right.
Taking
So,
it off the saddle.
I mean, honestly, it looks pretty straightforward. It's just a lot of.
Yeah, getting it to work.
I have faith in us.
Okay,
We're good.
that's good. If you do, then it'll probably happen.
Alrighty, folks. Well, we will be back next week, and hope everybody has a lovely weekend. It is looking gorgeous here in Missouri.
It is.
I'm gonna have a lovely week. It's gonna be fantastic. You still do trading cards? We do. Last Friday of every month, we do trading cards.
So week after next.
Week after next.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.